Thank you for tuning in to another episode of How to Give Your Boss the Finger. I'm your host, Sean Wright. Yeah, I'd like to thank you all for hanging in there, man. Some things I want to talk about. It's been a while since I did a podcast episode, and I think that it's time for me to talk about some of the things or the experiences that I've been through for the last couple of years. A lot of y'all don't know. I'm going to share some of my personal experiences with being a caretaker. Caretakers are unique and extraordinary people who are tasked with, or I should say, not even burdened with the task, but giving the task of caring for a loved one. And that could be a mother, a father, a sibling, or a spouse. In my case, it was a spouse. My wife that I've been married to for 13 years. Actually, we've been together for like 13 years, but we've been married for 11. We had just had our 11-year anniversary in May. I'm sorry. But my wife had been sick for several years, and I guess within the last 5 years of her life, she started getting really, sick. We're dealing with constantly going back and forth to the hospital for different things, whether if it was a mild stroke or a major stroke, dealing with like heart issues as well as diabetes, complication with diabetes, congestive heart failure. Also, she was suffering from renal kidney failure from the dialysis. So she was doing, renal kidney failure from the diabetes. So she was also on dialysis. First, we started off, we were doing in-home dialysis, where I was doing peritoneal dialysis at home for my wife, which I became like her living nurse. And that was a 24-hour task, basically. It was setting up the machine, cleaning the machine, breaking it down, cleaning her womb, cleaning her site, making sure everything was clean and sanitized. I mean, like a hospital. Like my house pretty much became livable like a hospital. I had to learn these things. Like, this wasn't something that I just knew how to do. I had to learn these things. So, a lot of times people think that, anybody could do this, but no, like you really have to run your home like a tight ship and like a real hospital environment. Like everything has to be clean and sanitized. And if you have pets and animals, you have to make sure that your animals and pets are set to the side and put away. And it's a lot of stuff that the doctors are going to tell you, but you're going to learn these things through trial and error. And the trial and errors that come in is when you don't have things clean, you are at risk for infections. So, there was times where, my wife had several infections, and the infections got to the point where they were like, okay, so you've had too many infections, so no more peritoneal dialysis. So therefore, we're going to have to do in a facility. You had to go and do dialysis at a facility. So that was like 3 times a week. So therefore, there was the rides to and from dialysis. So when she came home from dialysis, she was tired. I think that was more taxing on the body than the peritoneal dialysis. But the peritoneal dialysis wasn't for like 3 or 4 hours. It was more like a 9-hour process. So basically, we would set the machine up at night, and she would do the dialysis through the night. And then in the morning, we would break down the machine, and then she would have the rest of the day to do whatever she wanted to do. But that process was 7 days a week. So it was not like 3 days. So every 3 days at the facility compared to 7 days a week in home. So, compare your apples to oranges or whatever, however you want to call it. But we went to the dialysis center 3 days a week. And that was kind of taxing on her body. And then there were other things that happened within that time before my wife expired. Like she was having issues with her veins and her blood flow, and she was having issues with blood getting down to her feet and to her leg areas, and was causing like little wounds and stuff not to heal. So that turned into a major issue of, the doctors needed to talk to her about removing some toes, and that went to having like one of her toes on one foot was removed, and then the whole 5 toes on one foot was removed. And the issue with that was, the doctors were talking about taking her leg from the knee down prior to them removing the toes. And the young doctor that did the surgery was working with the vein doctor, and I guess from what I understand, how I perceived it is that words were said about stay in your place and let me do what I do, because he made the suggestion that they should just take the whole leg instead of taking just the toes and then, seeing how things work. But they didn't do that. They took the toes, and then maybe a week or so later they were like, oh well, we're gonna have to take the leg. And by then I think my wife was really checked out. Like, to be honest, I think she was over it. She was done. Because the night before her operation, I sat with her. I talked to her and I told her, I said, you know what? Our son is getting ready to start. It was just like first day of school. They was going back to school for they just coming off of the summer break, getting ready to go back to school. So I was like, all right, so I'm going to see you in the morning. They're going to come and get you probably before I get here. So by the time I get here to see you, you'll probably be waking up from your anesthesia. So I'll be here when you get here. Kissed her and I hugged her and I told her I love her, and I said, I'll see you tomorrow, okay? I was at home asleep. I was waking my phone call at around 2 a.m. And the doctor, I guess the nurses at the station, said, there's an issue with your wife. She's going into cardiac arrest. So I said, okay, I'm on my way there. I said, is she okay? She said, well, we're working on her. We're doing the best that we can, and we're working on it right now. So I said, okay, I'm on my way. So I wake my son up. I said, come on, we gotta go. We gotta go to the hospital. About 10 minutes down the road, I get the second phone call, and that's them apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, Mr. Wright, but I must inform you that your wife did not make it. I'm sorry. We've done everything that we can, and unfortunately she didn't make it. So that was the hardest phone call. The hardest phone call. I mean, it was hard to hear them say that my wife didn't make it. I'm sorry. Give me a second. But yeah, it's 2:10 a.m. My wife was gone. She was no longer here with us. I wasn't hurt as to knowing that she was gone. To be honest, I was more relieved that she was no longer here suffering. I no longer had to worry about her, because my wife was a woman of God. She loved God, and she was a praying woman, I kind of felt a little odd that night, because the day before her operation, she called me and told me, she said, you know what, they said they're gonna take my leg. And I was upset. I was angry. I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, it is what it is, I'm not worried about it. And that wasn't my wife. That's not who she was. She wasn't like that, And I was like, what? I was crying for her, but she wasn't crying. She wasn't mad. She wasn't upset. She was just like, they got to do what they got to do, and it is what it is. And for the first time, I see my wife okay with it, She wasn't worried. She wasn't stressing out. She didn't have no worry about her. So when I went to go see her, I was like, hey, how you doing? Everything. And, she was just real relaxed and cool. But she didn't, want to be too talkative. She was like, no, I just want to relax. I just want to lay like I'm laying. I said, you want me to put a pillow under you? She was like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. I don't need anything. I was like, you want me to lay down with you and just chilling? She was like, no, I'm fine. I'm just going to lay like this. I'm okay. I'm fine the way I'm sitting. I'm okay. And we talked for a little bit, and I thought it was just kind of weird that she was just real okay with everything, And I was like, all right, then, well, I'll see you tomorrow, and kissed her. But to know that my wife wasn't going to be with me the next day when they were going to take her leg, she was gone at night. And when I went there, man, she was there in the bed, and it was just peaceful. She was peaceful. She didn't have to suffer no more.
She didn't have to worry about the pains and people sticking her and prying her and putting all these daggone needles in her no more. She didn't have to worry about that no more. She went home. She did it the way that she wanted to do it. And I wasn't sad for me. It was more comforting knowing that she was okay. It was comforting knowing that she was okay. I'm sorry. I know I'm a little vulnerable on this episode, but this is for anybody who is coping or dealing with being a caretaker. You have to be acceptable knowing that their day will come and they will expire and they will no longer be here with you suffering, and you will no longer have to watch them suffer. But the hardest thing that may come for some of you is moving on. Finding love afterwards. You know? Some of you want to feel guilty, saying that you don't deserve it. But your spouse that you're caring for would not want you to be stagnant in that moment and not looking for new life. They wouldn't want that for you. Trust and believe me, they wouldn't. They're not that shallow to want to see you suffer from the grave. Believe me, they don't want that for you. But being a caretaker it's a hard task. Not everybody is cut out for it. Not everybody has the patience or the virtues to be able to deny themselves for the comfort of someone else. You understand? Like, because being a caretaker will be very, very uncomfortable. But it's not for the faint of heart. Everybody can't clean up after their spouse when they go to the restroom on themselves, or they need help to and from the bath and they need you to wash them. You know? All those things could be hard for a person who's not mentally prepared for that. So shout out to all the caretakers out there who are going through that, taking care of their mother and their father and their children or their spouses, you know. Kudos to you. Big ups to you. I'm here to let you know that God is amazing. And when He's calling them home, know that they're going on to a better place. Be no more suffering for them. No more anguish, no more pain, no more nothing. They're going to have a good life up there in heaven with the good Lord. So keep doing your part. Keep caring for your family member, spouse, loved one, whoever, friend, whoever it is. Keep doing your part, because you're going to receive your blessings as well. Thank you. This has been an Up and Forward Media production.